Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Simply Sketchy, a series where I drag with me unexpected innocent people to join me for about an hour-long conversation, give or take a few minutes or half hours, where I sketch random stuff and we talk about random shit. So, today I have taken the arduous journey to Sweden and kidnapped a friend of the channel and a regular viewer, Prime Knight. Say hello.
Where am I? Where are the bones here? Why it's so damp? Hello.
Don't mention it and you'll be able to go home. Welcome aboard, dude. Thank you for doing this with me.
No worries.
Oh, always nice. A little bit of international rivalry is always nice.
Well, of course.
Yes,
At least you're not Danish.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, no. Or not Sweden, or Finland. Holy shit, I don't want to get stabbed. Also,
You insult the Danish, but you stay away from the fence.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of fucking sentient person would try to fuck around with the fence? I wouldn't.
Well, someone tried, but they lost quite a bit. With it.
I mean, during around the early 40s, I guess, something happened. Something happened, and it happened really fucking bad, and it went the way one would expect when you deal with a bunch of people who subsist on nothing but alcohol and knives.
Yes, but I think you called here to talk about something specific.
Exactly. Speaking about letting blood, today's subject is actually about something I'm interested in, or I quite like the lore, even if I, like on most fucking major developments these days, I dislike the IP holders, but I love the IP. So today we're going to cover something I've always been interested in, never had the opportunity to play, but I hope one day to do so. The World of Darkness, or more specifically, Vampire the Masquerade. And today's subject, or the subject for the following videos about it, because we intend to do more of them, because I kidnapped Prime and he won't be able to go home until we finish this. It's in the contract, by the way. You can't escape it. You shouldn't have signed on it.
I have a shackle around my foot. It only
Yes.
feeds me stale bread and pig meat.
Exactly. The pork is pretty decent. The stale bread is because I need to get rid
raw.
of it. Yes, get good. You're used to eating surströmming. Just fucking deal with it.
Actually, I must read it does not eat surströmming. I just use it as a biological weapon.
That makes a lot more sense than yeah, that makes sense, actually. It is a curse. Speaking of curses, we're actually going to be more specific around it, and since we started with the World of Darkness and Vampire the Masquerade, we are starting kind of with one of the clans. I kind of like them, but they're also really meh. It all depends upon how good your DM is, and also, of course, which angle of the story you follow. The Toreador, or as everybody likes to call them, the artsy fartsy kind of dudes.
Yes, if we're going through the analogy of high school, then the Toreador are the drama queens, the artists, the poets, the people that you see running around with a lot of paint in their hands.
Yeah, and also the incredibly rich folks who suddenly get distracted for hours and hours and hours and hours, and then suddenly, oh shit, something actually happened. What the fuck?
Yes, there's an aspect of theirs that they can get lost in the beauty of a certain object, or a painting, or a person because of a certain aspect.
Yeah, their whole thing is being the clan. Again, I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but their whole thing is that they are the clan of passion, and beauty and art is what they're all for. So, of course, that means that they're very much one of the two main clans for the high society. Other ones being Ventrue, but we'll cover them at a later date.
Yes, they're part of the Camarilla, which is the one of the largest sects of vampires that control the underworld of vampires, keeping it hidden from the mortals and the Inquisition,
Yes, which is
with the on topic Masquerade, which is their type of code of conduct to not get exposed and set the world of vampires into danger by being exposed to the mortal world and get another vampire hunt.
yeah, and essentially the whole thing is what to call it, the masquerade and the following factions, and even the meeting that resulted into those factions was the technically the brainchild of a Toreador. Because again, everything they're on about is the grand stage, the political. They are the attention whore, so they're not just the artsy fartsy kind of guys. They're the cheerleader who needs to have everyone's eyes on them. They need public attention. They need everybody to look at them and everyone to love them. If not, they go into a psychotic rage, which, well, that's a that's a bit of a different subject. But it's also one of the reasons why I kind of like them too.
Yes, the Toreador have their niche with the arts and trying to be always be in the center of moving power.
Yes, because to
Uh,
them, politics isn't a tool, but rather a form of art.
yes, and if I remember correctly, when the Dark Ages started to pass, and the Renaissance appeared. They had kind of a golden age with all the artists, the free thinkers, the sculpture, and the freedom that people started to have. In before, it was mostly the church that, at the time, was controlled by vampires. But now the common man was able to express himself through art and poetry, which gave a lot of inspiration for the Toreador.
Yeah, they kind of they got to knock themselves out more than they usually did because now there was art in almost every corner of society. Buildings were made with more resources. Shit could just be made with according to however you could dream it. And again, the Toreador, they just capitalize on this, finding the people most interested in something, or in case like new experiences was always available. So the Toreador is one of the clans who've never really had a dark period. The only negative for the Toreador is finding stimuli, because unfortunately with these they are a clan of passion, a clan of extremes, which of course means that eventually things will grow boring, grow stale, and they will then turn desperate in order to find something new.
Yes, and it was during the end of the Dark Ages that, as you mentioned, they formed the sect Camarilla with the Toreador vampire Rafael de Corazon, which was one of the greatest members of the time.
Yes.
But a few of his own clan members did leave and form the counter-sect Sabbat, which sees the world as the oyster of the vampires to be ruled and conquered, and the humanity as the cattle to feed them.
Yes, essentially the sects we will mention the sects between each faction as the clan. I mean, each sect will be mentioned according to how they affect or work within the sect comparatively to the clan. And the Toreador is essentially one of the lifebloods of this faction. They keep it going. They started the structure and just kept on building from there.
Yes,
So
it was the Toreador that were the party animals, the great artists, the social movers within the high society.
yes, and also they're the people who quickly turn into degenerates too. As you mentioned, the Sabbat being the Sabbat you can see is the faction that turns to the darker natures and more bestial sides of what a vampire is in this setting. And that, of course, means that they are the degenerates turn to extremes. So when they make art, they don't make the art of painting on a canvas. They start making art out of people. Like, oh, hey, what
Yes,
happens if I turn your blood into sauce? As a funnier and more brutal example.
yes. Well, the people you're talking about is the Toreador anti-tribu,
Yes.
which are the instead of following the more orthodox versions of art of using marble, paints, and colors of flowers, they see pain, suffering, blood, and gore, pretty much Slaneshi things
Yeah,
as art.
pretty much. And if you want to be a bit of an edgy boy, being again, if you want to be an edgy run in this game series, doing a Sabbat is definitely what you want to be after.
Yes. Other than the Sabbat, you have the Anarchs, which seem tries to find a balance between the mortal world, the vampire world, and the clans, but with the conflicting ideologies and, well, vampires, that is pretty much an impossibility.
Yeah, that and anarchs are just stupid. I've got to be honest. There, this again, it's on my channel. I will be very, very biased, and the anarchs are just champagne socialists, thinking they can solve every problem by being the counterculture, which is wrong.
Yes, they have a good idea, but the way to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, it just doesn't work like that when you're blood. They are the one. They're the hippie ones who think that, oh, we can make humanity and everything work together so well. And meanwhile, your friends are currently eating in the neighbor's face.
Yes, the reason the vampire world has been able to keep hidden for so long and to keep it going is because the Camarilla has been ruled with an iron hand with capable leaders who, as soon as the upstarts start rising that are breaking the Masquerade or, well, ruining the lives of the vampires, they are quickly there to chop its head off.
Yes, and though that work is done by a lot of different clans, but the Toreador, despite being the artsy ones, are not unable to. Let's just say they're not unable to kick ass either, because every vampire clan has a specific set of abilities. In this series, it's called disciplines, and while it can vary between individuals, each clan has, same with their curse and their abilities and their quirks, also has a set of abilities which they can use, which are. Do you remember those, Brian?
Yes, the powers of the Toreador, as I'm a little bit cheating with having the wiki open to refresh myself, they have the disciplines or vampiric powers of aspect, celerity, and presence.
And what are those, pray tell?
Let's see. Aspects, which is pretty much an increase of the senses to be able to hear better, see better, or to enhance your five senses to even perceive the supernatural around you. Both to in game to be able to, well, pretty much enhance your perception abilities. It is also used in combat to make yourself a little bit faster and stronger.
Yeah. The thing about these guys is that if they have to fight, they prefer to do it quickly and brutally. They are averse to long-standing issues when they first have to get down and dirty, so speed is their key. And in order to go fast, you need to see where you're going. And they also need to see deeper into things, which is aspects is a both physical and kind of a spiritual thing, because if you go deep enough into aspects, you can even develop like a sixth sense, psionics, or translate and read minds to people or other things.
Yes, powers like precognition or omniscience
Yeah.
to be able to perceive, well, both the future but also perceive things that are hidden from you.
Yes. Though omniscience is pretty much at the end point of you could say the skill tree. So you gotta be really far out to be there, and at that point you're pretty much a sage.
Oh yes, that is when you are at the peak of power.
Yeah, which
End game.
yeah, end game, or if you end up becoming like a Methuselah slash oh, what you call it again? What's those fellas called that started the clans? Antediluvians. Yes, they are essentially the peak of what every vampire can achieve, which is undead blood gods who are able to alone almost cause half an apocalypse if they so desire.
Yes, and as you speak of the generations of vampires, the first vampire was, in this setting, Cain, the murderer of Abel, who was cursed to walk the world and see his children kill each other with the blood curse.
Yes.
And every generation of children has been extremely powerful, but the more and more generation have been sired or made into vampires, their power have degraded. When they start reaching 10, 12, 15 generation, they are thin bloods or almost non-vampires, but with certain aspects or
Yeah.
negatives present in their
The
physiology.
further removed you are from the original vampire, the weaker you are. So let's put it like this: if you are from the first generation is Cain. There's only Cain who's the first. You have a short list, a very short list of second generation, but it's now so short that it's non-existent because they're all dead because they were all killed by the third generation, and they're essentially near godlike in their powers. However, from there, you go from demigod to the next two following generations to, let's say, seventh generation. You're still pretty potent, but that's when you start to have some more limitations of power. And average standard clan would be around 10th if you play in the modern setting. And you're still powerful, you're still able to wreck shit on a normal person, but going against let's put it like this: if a vampire of the 10th generation tries to go against a vampire of the 8th generation, he better be prepared like hell or be physically older. Because even if you're a younger generation vampire, a lesser generation vampire might still be younger because, say, the one who turned you into a vampire was of the, say, sixth, you would be a seventh generation. But if you end up squaring up against someone in the eighth generation, but he's been alive for 100 years, that battlefield will be a bit more equal.
Hmm. Yes, and when it comes to a vampire's power in the bloodlines, it is not that one level stronger is +1, it's more +10.
Yes,
It increases exponentially.
indeed. So if a vampire is able to decrease their generation, which is possible through cannibalism, which happens quite a lot in some parts of the setting, the vampire is able
Diablerie.
to decrease their generation through that. Of course, vampires don't work that well together, so having a bunch of vampires siring younger, as they call it, siring, embracing, they like to use these a bit pretentious language, let's put it like this. So it would be possible to completely break the game by being a low generation vampire, turning a bunch of allies into low generation vampires too. But the unfortunate part here is that vampires don't work well together, and they're extremely territorial. They are distrustful, they don't like each other, and they're incredibly paranoid because when you can risk losing eternity, it's hard to trust someone.
Yes, when you become a vampire, certain aspects are increased, like certain negative aspects of your personality, but also your individualism is turned up to 100.
Yep. That is, again, paranoia is the devil of the vampires in this case. Again, it's also in a setting where kicking a puppy is the one of the least evil things you could do. Some clans are just bound to be evil too. At least the Toreador have the opportunity to be somewhat kind and nice, but still, when you are able to juggle cars or run past Usain Bolt 3 times before he even notices you, it's kind of difficult looking at your food source as anything but food.
Yes, quite a few vampires see them just as inconvenient fodder that has voice.
Yeah. Even the ones who go around trying to be like, oh, but I am for humanity. I support humanity. Even they just look down on people, and when push comes to shove, will sacrifice said person immediately if they can gain something out of it.
Oh yes. Power and influence means everything to a vampire.
Yeah, and 3 times so for Toreador, because again, if they lose either of these, they will not be able to live the decadent lifestyle they have.
Yes. Moving on to the powers of the Toreador, the second power is celerity. Celerity.
It's not celery, celerity. So
Yes.
essentially, that is the name of their super speed. As I mentioned previously, if they get into a conflict, they want to finish it like yesterday and move on to looking at a painting for like 15 hours again.
Yes, and with this speed, they're able to do incredible parries in melee. They're able to run faster, jump higher, or have better precision because they enhance the speed, but also makes everything move slower for themselves. They enhance their uh, thought capacity.
Yeah. Let's put it like this. You know how the flat house, what? Anyone seen the X-Men First Class movie? You know the speedy guy, Quicksilver?
Quicksilver.
Yeah,
Yeah,
essentially
yeah,
that. If you're a Toreador who has spec'd up celerity, you're pretty much Quicksilver.
yeah. I mean, as I'm looking through the powers here, you have Zephyr. Move so fast that you seem to defy gravity.
Yep.
That is long far from inhuman to be able to do.
Yeah, it's again, every power has a base scale, which it kind of makes you really powerful, really capable. But then, as you put more points into it, as you grow older, as you play the game, it becomes kind of disgusting how fucking overpowered you can become. Like, celerity is one of those extremely broken abilities where if you end up sticking yourself for gunfights and celerity, you'll be able to shoot a gun before nobody even hears the gunshot, and you'll be able to dodge the bullet because the bullet is so slow that you can just flick it away from you.
As it's a John Woo film.
Essentially, yes.
I mean, just looking at the two of the most basic powers in the list, you have projectile, throw objects at the speed of their celerity, and then tireless tread, run at 50 miles per hour for at least 8 hours. If those two are, according to your dungeon master or game master, as it is an tabletop RPG, combine those, throwing an object at 50 miles per hour is insane.
Yes. And then imagine running and throwing it. You can put a stone through someone's wall with the power of a 50 BMG if you're able to explain or rule break hard enough.
Yes. There's some fun ideas you can have with these powers.
Oh yeah, I'm all for it. That's what kind of why I like this setting. And the vampires are pretty cool too, though they're more in the it embraces as well as it not even touches humanity in many ways. It is humanity is sort of a stat here, depending on what you do and how it is. It's a morality system, though it's a bit better made than the most normal morality systems. Like D&D's morality system is absolute crap. Let's just put it like this: affinity system. At least this one makes more sense because there is consequences to both sides. Of
Yes, as
the
every side vampire has to fight with both the first, which is the desire to drink vitae or lifeblood from any living being,
Yep.
but also the beast, which is the supernatural caged animal within them that just want to go mayhem and slaughter,
Yeah.
just to feed itself.
Yeah, it's essentially the name of the hunger and bestial instincts that are developed upon being turned into a vampire. So that's also why they're really fucking unsociable and have a hard time trusting each other because most of them just want to eat everything around them. You see a
Yes, and
vampire and he might act nice and kind and be like, "Oh yes, we are such friendly. You can trust me. I totally sparkle in the sunlight." While all the while, as he's looking at you, a voice inside his head is screaming, "Lunch, lunch, 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 lunch."
yes, there's a reason why certain clans does the blood pacts into be able to see that they can trust each other.
Yeah,
Where well they take a sip of their friend's blood and they become infatuated with them. You see them as a really good friend that you've been friend with for years. The second sip, you can't defy orders. You will do whatever they say. And the last sip, well, you're pretty much a slave now.
pretty much yes. Or I think in the older rules, the first you will have you'll be more inclined to them. The second you will have no wait. The first you will have a strong opinion of them. It could be a positive or a negative one, but it will be a strong opinion. The second sip will make you really friendly to them, and the third is the one where you sorry, and the third is the one where you become a slave.
Yes. And certain clans use that. I think it is a Sabbat that does that to be able to wrangle their members to actually work together because they are individualistic and bloodthirsty, and if they did not do it, they would tear each other apart.
Every single vampire does that, actually. It's the
Oh, really?
Sabbat have their own type. They have made their own type since they're all. Let's be honest, the Sabbat are just a bunch of murder hobos, while Camarilla are a bunch of artsy fartsy people in denial that actually want to kill everything, mostly, and the Anarchs are just retarded high school people.
Yes, and I have to confess that my exposure to the world of darkness is mostly from the video game Vampire the Masquerade that was dropped on PC many years ago. Damn, I feel old, and I'm not even a vampire.
You tell me how.
And from the Alpha Boost Up the Parenting series, that is sort of a spoof of the Vampire the Masquerade's
Yeah,
world.
it's based upon the Hunter the Reckoning, but they've since as much as White Wolf leans into annoying politics, just read the version 5 book. You'll know what I mean. Uh, at least they're not like Warhammer, completely abandoning their own fans, and the people actually love their work. White Wolf, almost as in seeing the writing on the wall, decided, okay, we're gonna let fans do whatever the hell they want. And Alpha Busa, despite what issues one might have with the creator and his group, actually makes pretty good series. So yeah, surprisingly, you to give it a watch if you feel like it.
Yeah, if we go back to the powers of the Toreador, their last power is presence,
Yes.
which is their way of being able to be the starlight in the room, to capture an audience with just a wink, to enter a room and be immediately the center of attention.
Yeah. As you can see, all their powers are essentially a pretty much like their curse and their powers are essential to the vampire clan and the aforementioned vampire's personality. You will build. It's like having in D&D in gaming settings. Every clan is a class, and you will have powers and personality traits you have to play with based upon those. So keep going with the presence.
Yes, the presence, the abilities of presence are, well, simply put it, to bring wonder to people without having to do anything because it's your power that does it for you.
Yeah.
As in the power awe. which is a very simple power because when you use it, everyone around you either gets fascinated and wonder about you or seem that you are powerful and strong and want to cower away from you because you're dangerous.
Yes, it is supernatural charisma. Every single
Charisma on amphetamines.
Oh yeah, charisma and crystal methamphetamine. It is insane. Like you think being able to run like the fucking Flash is insane? You think being able to broadcast and read thoughts across kilometers of lands is insane? This shit is being able to stand in the middle of a street and start preaching random shit and have people believe you.
Oh yes, if a Toreador started a megachurch, he would have an army.
Yeah, unfortunately, of course, since there are such attention wars, they would immediately drag attention to everyone who shouldn't have their attention. But it all depends on the individual vampire in that case. Some people would love it and run away and do it again, and some people would just, it all depends on proclivities of the little fucker.
Yes, as one of the advanced powers of presence is Siren Song, which makes you able to instill emotions in a group through music. So if your character is expecting to be a musician or an artist of some kind, you can use, well, a whistle, a little tiddle on a violin, and all of a sudden you can turn a mob into a frenzied pack of wolves or make them run away in fear.
Yeah. Again, maximum charisma boost, and the world is pretty much your oyster. And it's, again, to signify just how broken the Toreador are in the social setting.
Yes. When the TTRPG, just as D&D has, it has the combat and it has the adventure part. And the Toreador is more specifically more spec into the adventure part, as they have a lot of bonuses to their charisma to be able to convince and talk, but they're not helpless.
Exactly. But also we've just given you a lot of their powers, their abilities. We've sold them pretty well, I think. Hell, even I think the Toreador are a bit cool despite some of their proclivities, or they've been very much just hung to dry in many cases, but that's beside the point. What, however, as I've mentioned, curses. Every clan has a curse. Toreador has a very specific curse, which is, in some cases, hilarious, in other cases, incredibly inconvenient.
Yes, I think you mean this has mentioned them as banes and compulsions.
Pretty much.
Aesthetic fixation, agonizing empathy, and obsession.
Yes. When a Toreador is set on something, they just can't get away with it. And that, of course, depends on the individual, as it can be making a piece of art or suddenly finding a person they completely fall in love with and need to be with. And, of course, after they got what they need, they're just going to drop it like a cat. To be honest, this is actually the most feline clan of them all.
Very temperamental.
Yeah.
As their compulsion says, obsession, enraptured by beauty, where your character in a very stressful situation can see a rose, a piece of marble, a painting, or just how a piece of canvas has fallen onto the ground, and they all of a sudden get a flash of inspiration of beauty and are pretty much frozen in stone in that moment.
Yeah.
While it's just pure chaos around them.
Yeah, like some other channels have described. Imagine being in a gunfight, suddenly you see a picture, and then you're stuck looking at that picture because the picture is so pretty, you can't look away from that picture.
Yes.
That's their weakness. They are so obsessed with art that if something within their line of interest catches their attention, they're stuck. Like, if I had been a Toreador and I would have seen, say, let's go, a Transformers figure, a very rare and expensive Transformers figure of a very old, like is signed by Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. I'd be stuck. I'd be glued to the spot for hours.
Yeah, like second release of Optimus Prime from the first TV show.
Oh yeah, dude, hell, that'd get me now. If I was a Toreador, you guys would probably have to carry me out so I wouldn't catch fire when the sun came out.
Yes. The other downside to the Toreador is their aesthetic fixation. Fixation. Got them. In which, where if they found themselves in a very unaesthetic surroundings, in the sewers, in a dump, or just in a very trashy place, they actually get a negative to certain roles.
Yes, it is.
Or bonuses because they are in a beautiful place.
Yes. This is also very dependent on the individual you're role playing as, but you could be like the snooty rich boy and like, oh, this is so dirty, I can't work here. Oh, this is so terrible. Or you could be one of those who are one of those freaks who are obsessed with blood, guts, and gore. Be like, oh my god, this slaughterhouse is the best place ever.
Yes, you can make your character, as with D&D, you have very much freedom into doing what your character fixations and source of inspiration is.
Yes. Which is kind of why I like the idea of it. I always wanted to play World of Darkness. I just never found anyone who's able to play it with me. But hey, time will tell, and when I stop being so fucking busy, who knows? I might be able to scrape some people together. But
Yes.
yes, now we have covered their obsessiveness, their aesthetics. Now, what was the last bane or curse?
Agonizing empathy.
Oh yeah, that one. Go ahead.
And I'm cheating with
Oh, go
the
ahead.
wiki, as I said, that my exposure is only through a certain off media, as the video game and YouTube show. So I'm cheating a bit with the wiki.
Also,
Um,
if you guys want deeper lore, you can find a lot of different lore channels. But Arch Warhammer, a favorite of mine, has done a few videos where he discusses some of the different Vampire the Masquerade clans, and he might do some more in the future. They drop by every now and then, so he's covered the Toreador and 4 other clans. So do drop by and give it a listen. Maybe you'll find a new interest.
yes, he covered the Toreador, the Ventrue, the Bruja, and I think one more, the
The
Tremere, I
Tremere,
believe.
all of whom we're going to cover as well, because there are 14 main clans, and yeah, we're pretty much just going to go through all of them whenever time allows.
Yes. And I believe I have found what their last bane is
Go
in
ahead.
this wiki page, which is that art for the Toreador is not a choice, but by nature. So when they see an artist or a poet that are able to produce a certain aspect of beauty, they get a compulsion. They must turn him and embrace him.
Oh yeah, that one. Ooh. And
Yes.
oh, by the way, in the rules of Vampire Society, it's kind of strict upon who you get to embrace into the world of vampirism. So if you just randomly take someone and turn them into a vampire, you've broken a pretty strict rule.
Yes, it's one of the rules of the Masquerade. It has to be um,
Population.
granted by the Elderman or
Yes.
the prince in the area that controls the area you're in to be able to turn the person, and the person must be vetted so that the person is not a Sabbat spy or has connections with the Inquisition or similar ideas.
Or just a random who is unable to cope with the situation. Unfortunately, Toreador, despite being the guys who invented the rules, are kind of one of the guys who break the rules the most because their nature just does it.
Well, of course, they made the rules. It's up to them to break them.
Very true. I mean, they made it. They don't have to follow. Just look at the politicians. Holy shit, it makes sense. Oh boy, you can make. I mean, every clan can be made into an interesting character, but Toreadors, they're kind of yeah, they can get really interesting.
Yes. They do sound like if you were to play them in the TTRPG, the tabletop RPG, you would play them as a charisma character, as that was is their strong suit, and try to be either the serial killer with an artistic flair, or the troubled or pained artist that cannot find his muse or be able to recreate something that he has done before.
Yeah, essentially, as a Toreador, you can have a lot of focuses, but your prime, your raison d'etre, your reason to exist, anything you do, is ultimately to your own artistic endeavors. You can be a loyal servant to one, or anything. You can have a faction you follow. You can have an alliance with different creatures. You can have sworn to the fucking king himself that you will do a job. But if you ever get distracted by something that just artistically perfect to you, you will disregard those orders despite how loyal you are. You are a slave to your own obsessions, which is essentially
Yes.
the tragic side of being a Toreador. You have all this power, the ability to bend masses to your whim and will. You can make people love you and hate you as easy as you change clothes. However, you're equally as much as a slave to your own compulsions as anyone else is. More so than anyone else is. And in case you're
Yes.
wondering, this is not a sun, this is the moon. That's
Yes.
not that.
As with the old classic vampire flicks, the sun is quite disagreeable with the vampires.
Yeah, you kind of need a strong sun factor, like a really strong sun factor.
Yes, but I don't think SPF 50 million is quite that, well, practical. Being
Yeah,
covered 2 inches of mud.
yeah, you gotta be able to like, if you're able to dig yourself like a half a meter underground, you might survive the sun passing on a cloudy day. The sun fucks you hard. Let's put it like this: you and the sun don't like each other. You both hate each other. You had a terrible breakup, and you never want to see each other again. Unfortunately, you live on opposite sides of the road, and you just try to avoid each other like the plague.
Yes. It's not Skyrim vampirism where you just get an annoying debuff. You actually set on fire as soon as, well, sunlight passes by you. Not even touches you, passes by you.
Yeah, and if you're lucky, a slight touch of the sun will just set you on fire, and if you get to water and shadow quick enough, you might put yourself out. Of course, you'll also go crazy from like a supernatural panic, but hey, roll the dice and see what happens, essentially. Vampires fear the sun for very obvious reasons. But yes, we've covered a lot of different basis things. Is there anything specific you want to keep on about? Because I still have a little bit left to go.
Yes, we can talk a little bit about the clan's founder.
Yes.
And I'm paraphrasing from the wiki now. As I've said, I'm also learning as we're moving through the vampire clans.
Yep.
The clan's founder was Arikiel, a mortal painter and or sculptor in the first city. The first city was a pre-biblical city that was created either by the second generation or by Cain himself.
Yes. Essentially, in the world of darkness, the Bible is pretty much right. Cain is real. Cain killed Abel. He became a vampire through kind of being stuck up and guilty. And also, God is kind of a dick in this universe. He's fucking elite. It's a world of darkness for a reason. All right.
Yes.
And the vampires created, after Cain created the vampires, they made a city where mortals and those existing current vampires could live in relative peace and harmony. As peaceful and harmonious as it could be back in Byzantine days.
Yes. Well, I think it is pre-Byzantine. Byzantine Empire was, well, after the Roman fall of the Roman Empire. If you
Oh
believe.
shit! Yeah, that's a whole other story. Shit, my bad. Um,
Yes.
yeah, fuck. This is actually millennia ago, like
Oh yes, this is even
tens of millennia.
before the Minoan cultures of Greece.
Yeah, fuck this. God, I messed up that one. Sorry. Yeah, I guess what I think Saulud is around 9,000 years old, and he's a third generation. So, again, biblically, I guess Cain would be around 11,000, give or take. Maybe no more. 15. Age is difficult with
Let's.
vampires.
Yes, I'm trying to find a date, but it's not being quite forthright with it. But it seems to be somewhat before uh, the the Egyptian time of the Egypt.
Yeah, and let's put it like this: the Great Deluge happened, which is why the vampire evil gods are called antediluvians, because they actually survived the biblical flood. And this city is the reason why it's called the biblical flood, because the shit they ended up doing. Oh yeah, boy. And yeah, let's get back on track. Sorry.
Yes, well, the first city was at least a vampire city that was controlled by the strongest generations of vampires and lived somewhat in a troubled harmony with each other.
Yes.
And Arikiel, with the mortal painter, was embraced and turned into a vampire. And when she was embraced, she apparently did a mural where she painted pretty much like the seers of mythology. She painted the past, present, and the future of kindred society, and it apparently wasn't that good, as Cain seemed to not very enjoy what the future had in hold for them.
Yeah, Cain was back in those days. Cain was incredibly touchy about subjects. Uh, I think he was kind of a fucking dick because after killing his brother, he was like, "Oh no, I don't feel guilty at all." And he is not a sympathetic character. Cain is a fucking asshole.
Becoming a vampire, as has been stated, enhances negative attributes of your personality. So yeah, he might have become.
Oh no, he was an asshole. His assholery is pretty much the genetic standard passed down by him.
Oh,
All right, Cain might. I think Cain might be a little bit more sympathetic in modern settings, depending on your GM and which storyline you follow. But let's put it like this: Cain was not a good guy back in the day. He was a fucking tyrant and an asshole.
right. And not going to be the father of the millennia, this guy at least. Yes, but if we move forward in the timeline of the Toreador, during the Dark Ages, as we have talked a little bit, they were very deeply invested into the structure of the Catholic Church. As they used the church to sponsor a lot of artists with painting churches or making sculptures, but also how they were able to nested themselves in high society and in later parts become part of the nobility of France and their society.
Yes, as you can hear in the name Toreador, it is. It's actually what's it translated to again? Toreador are the in Norwegian we call it tyreffekter. You know the people who
Bullfighter.
dodge. Yeah, bullfighter. It means bullfighter. Jesus Christ. Which is pretty much how they view themselves as well.
Yeah. And then, as we have touched on before, when the Renaissance came, as we are moving through the history a little bit, when the Renaissance came, they had another explosion of art and artists in works of artists like Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Shakespeare. Invention of the mirror, which fed their own ego.
Oh yeah. Let's put it like this: the clan Toreador is what you could call a very one of the more basic clans. It is a clan where social politicking is more interesting because nothing much really happens to or with the Toreador unless it's in the political sphere. Unless it's in high society, not much interesting happened with the Toreador. They're not great adventures. They're not any explorers or things like that unless individuals pop out. Mostly they like to keep themselves within cities and enjoy life there.
Yes, the adventurers and soldiers are the Bruja or the Venture. But
Yeah,
that's a subject for another time.
yeah. These are, again, we're covering the base clans first, which is the clans you can play in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 1.
Yes. And if we move a little bit more forward, when the Victorian age and the Industrial Revolution started kicking about, the Toreadors actually got a little bit of kicked in the teeth as people started to started to love a new thing that everyone started to obsess about, which was money,
Oh, yeah.
wealth, pure wealth, not the gathering of art and artifacts or beauty, but just pure wealth, cash, cold hard cash
Yeah.
money.
The thing that the Ventrue and Lazombre are pretty good at gaining, but it didn't mean that the Toreador felt if faced any kind of hard upticks. They were again artists. They were incredibly rich already. They could sell the shit they had because there's always enough rubes believing that a random stain on the wall is worth billions. Let's put it like that. So of course it meant now that it's what was I gonna say again? Their power structure isn't as exclusive to them as it used to be, meaning that now the Toreador have been more and more integrated with their Ventrue counterparts. Toreadors are they're stage actors. They're the people who loves attention, while their well natural partners, so to speak, are the Ventrue, who are kingmakers. They're the politicians to the actor, essentially.
Interesting.
At least is how I see it.
Yes. And the game of World of Darkness plays out in the late 19th, early 2000s world of humanity. It's more specifically in America, I believe. Well, I think people do play in their own
Yeah,
places in their own nations.
the thing that is neat about the World of Darkness is that you can play a game that is in your own hometown with friends who lives there as well. Because you can just again, this is things happening in the background. So say that that old nightclub is actually a hub for Toreadors to hang out and find people to drink from, right? Or
Yeah.
that sewer grate down by the alley behind the school, which nobody could get open. I mean, that is the place for Masquerade, another clan we'll cover later. It's you can make it is modern fantasy in a way.
Modern vampire goth fantasy.
Yeah, or yeah, that's vampire
Blood
LARP.
punk.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. Bloodpunk. And let's put it like this. The vampire LARPers, there's a lot of those idiots in that in this setting, sadly, and it's also one of the reasons why the setting has had a bit of a downfall from grace a few times. The people who have the IP have a lot of those in charge.
You mean adlords that believe themselves to be vampires and drink their own blood?
Not drinking. I hope not, but some of them are cringy LARPers. Let's put it like that.
Right.
Yes.
I think it's a bit of a curse with the fandom that there will always be people who take it just a little bit too far that is comfortable.
Yes, yes, or the people who can't separate their fucking politics from anything else. Like, this is why I have to, if ever I'm talking about like version 5, which is the most modern one, it is the one with the most current yearism in it. Seriously, dude, just look at if you ever find a rule book at your local nerd store, go have a look at it and you will see what I mean.
I think I understand. I have played both Warhammer and the Magic the Gathering. I
Yes,
know when it starts getting political,
yes.
and
How,
hindering
yeah,
the game.
it's pretty much that. But if you want peak World of Darkness, if you want the true experience of Vampire the Masquerade, as close to the best way to get it is actually the game Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 1. Though remember, you need to download a bunch of stability mods because that game was unfortunately forced out before its time. But it's also, according to everyone who's played it, the best RPG of all time.
Oh yes, it is. It's all. It's the vampire version of Fallout New Vegas. It
Yes.
has a lot of how should you say, specific pathlands in the story you can take depending on which clan you are.
Yes. And let's put it like this: in this game, you can literally be attacked by a massive stone monster and talk your way out of it.
Yes.
Uh,
While combat is inevitable, in most of the Vampire the Masquerade, there should be an option to be able to smooth talk your way out. To
yes,
take the bard way out, if you can say.
basically. And Bloodlines allows that, but there are some sections where you have to fight. And let me just point out like this: if you want to level a combat stat, level guns. Thank me later. Level if you want to do combat, level guns. You'll thank me later.
Guns are quite simple to use. It's just point to shoot.
Indeed.
And with the ability to vampire, I'm guessing it's even easier as you can enhance your senses and abilities to such a degree that you are John Wicking your way around.
Actually, yes. You can actually make the game into max pain because imagine you max out celerity, then if you get put a lot of points in celerities, then put a lot of points in guns, and the more points you put in guns, the more stable the gunplay is because the gunplay, I like it. It's bad, but it's decent in the way that if you have a low gun stat, it will be hard to aim the weapon. The more you put points into it, the more comfortable it is to shoot, or comparatively comfortable it is to shoot.
Yeah, I remember that with a basic skill in the guns in the video game, the crosshair is pretty much almost out with the edges when you have a shotgun and you're almost incapable to shoot anything that is more than 2 feet away from you.
Yes, but however, if you have the shotgun, you put a lot of points in that, and then you activate celerity. Oh boy, dude, there is
It sounds like a Doomguy build. Extreme speed, shotgun up close.
and you look fucking great as a Toreador. So
Well,
you
as
look
the charisma.
yeah, so you look good doing it too because it's one of the effects as you turn into a vampire, you aren't who you are anymore. You're who you used to be, but the personality and the traits of the clan originator is essentially slapped on top of that. Which also means that if you get turned to Toreador and you're mildly like if you're a 5 out of 10 and you turn into a Toreador, you're a 10 out of 10 immediately.
And if you're a 9, all of a sudden you're a 13.
Yes, it's kind of fucking insane. Of course, that will also affect a lot of other things. I like it. It's the absolute opposite of the Nosferatu, which is essentially their rival clan in many ways.
Yes, Nosferatu are born quite ugly, but are extremely good at stealth and ambush tactics.
Yes, and where the Toreadors are fast as fuck, the Nosferatu are so strong that again, aforementioned when I mentioned juggle containers, that's a Nosferatu. And they prefer to be unseen instead of being seen, so they turn invisible. But hell, we'll cover that when we get to the Nosferatu episode, and God knows when. But we have a few other plans we need to cover before that. Or actually, no, I'm gonna let you, Prime, since I kidnapped you and hold you captured down my cellar. You'll be the one to decide the next vampire we're gonna cover.
Yes, I'm starting to get quite worried as some of these bones are human and otherwise, and I'm starting to wonder what the otherwise are, since I've
We
never seen a
don't need
female
to.
that large.
Don't ask stupid questions.
But
It's
why is
okay.
there a femur as big as my forearm?
Because you're supposed to have something to question about. It was a really big ham. There you go. Yes, ham. Big ham. Enormous ham. It was huge. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Yeah. So, and with that, I've actually finished the drawing. What do you think? Something I don't know
That
quite know
looks
what to
good
do.
for a start. If you're going to touch it up more, or
The idea about this is that I do a sketch while we chat. We've been going for about, say, almost an hour.
yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, so it would be more than this, as these tend to be like a black and white sketches. It's again simply sketchy. I just do a simple sketch where I do my best on-set sketch. It's a way for me to develop my own skill set while also keeping it simple. And having a really good conversation with nice people and friends.
Right.
That
Yeah, I
will
can
also
almost get what's this that movie name again? But the black and white movie with that had a lot
Sin
of
City.
red.
Sin City.
Yeah, Sin City. The glass is red,
Yes.
and it's the only thing that is red.
Well, maybe the eyes too, and a little strip around the mouth, but I don't do much extra colors on this.
And just to feel, I get just to feel, but it looks good.
Let's see.
It's a lot better than what I can do.
Well, I've been doing this for a while, so I'm not going to start saying that. Oh yeah, I'm better than you. No, no, no. It's essentially if you want to get into art, practice, dude. Just practice. It's literally the only thing you really need to do. Skill is, well, you make it. Like the shit you can do with a sword, I don't have a fucking chance of doing.
Yeah, I'm not that high skilled, but I think at least I'm a little bit more experienced than you. But your art is far beyond my skill level.
At this moment, if you start doing a little bit, I mean, just look at what PewDiePie did. Do a little bit in here and there, and suddenly, there you are.
Yes, I know one thing, and that is do not start with hands.
Oh, no. And also, I'm going to put it like this. I'm really bad at drawing feminine and women. So a lot of people will look at this and already see several issues with it, but dude, hey, any commentary you have, like hints at what I should have done differently, feel free to post it down in the description below. Not only because it's engagement, but hell, I might learn something.
Buff woman, buff vampire woman. Be lucky.
Yes, always nice. Though, in the definition of Toreador, another thing, Toreador are one of the few vampires able to actually have sex with other people because Toreador is the only vampire clan who doesn't have the cold to the touch feeling. If you touch a Toreador vampire, they actually have body heat.
Yes, just enough to pass
Yes, they feel
as living.
cold, colder than usual, but they're still tempered enough, and they're able to have their drink work without actually sacrificing unnecessary amounts of blood. because a vampire can pretend to be alive. If I think it's called the flush of life or some shit, and that way they can get their body's function to do what they once did. The Toreador has this act the whole time, so that's why a lot of them are just massive fucking whore if they so choose.
I can almost see a vampire pumping his arm, trying to get his wiener up.
If you're
He needs to get the pressure up. He needs to get the pressure up.
Yeah.
Get it hard. While a Toreador is just standing there with the towel up. I'm already there, honey.
beat you to it, babe. I mean, of course, it is their ability. Of course, not all Toreadors are the same. Some turn fucking crazy and just do whatever they want. Tend to be hunted down by everyone around them. But let's just put it like this: you're gonna have one hell of a time as a Toreador, but time will have one hell of a ride with you as well.
Yes. In short, if you use the D&D as a base, the Toreador are the bard class with a
Yes.
bit of speed skill in it.
Pretty much. And of course, you need to drink blood in order to sustain yourself. And you will lay the dragon. At least you will try to.
Yes. But I do not think the Link Way would like that.
No, they probably won't. Would be fun to see them get angry, though. Fuck those guys. Well, and with that, I think we will conclude this episode of Simply Sketchy. Prime Night, again, thank you very much for doing this project with me, and I look forward to doing more in the future.
I'm enjoying it. It's given me an opportunity to explore the world of darkness, which I'm not that very versed in, as I've only played a game and watched a show, and I'm getting an opportunity to both read and listen to a lot of interesting podcasts and videos on the subject.
Oh yeah,
As there's not only in the world of darkness is not only the vampires, but also the werewolves and a few other aspects of the game, as you can not only play as the vampire side, you can play as the werewolf side, which is completely different. Then you can play as the human side, which is the Inquisition or vampire hunters.
and then you have mages, which is just fucking insane. If you want a rundown about World of Darkness, go check Alpha Boost's introduction to the World of Darkness video, and you got a pretty solid description about how it is. Because this can be dark, dreary, and dramatic, or it can be up its fucking shit.
Yes, on the Alpha Booster video, I suggest if it's your first exposure to the World of Darkness, listen to it in parts. It's a bit thick with its contents.
Or you can watch it several times because, again, Alpha Boosa has a lot of rewatch event, replay value.
Of course.
Well, do you have any socials you want to fill out? Anything specific, or
No, I don't have anything yet that is serious.
no?
But might be one day, as I am starting Buhurt or Medieval Armored Fighting Gym in
Oh,
my
yes.
hometown.
Well, in that case, when you got that shit done, we're gonna start shilling you in the comments down below. But until then, thank you everyone for watching. Again, thank you Prime Night for joining me here, and thank you Bessic for doing the editing, censoring, and tech wrangling for me because Jesus Christ, living with a tech skill of -1 is a terrible fucking existence. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it, folks. Goodbye.
Bye bye!